All right, gang, here we go. Are you ready to pug and then champ? Dude, I know this is very cringe, but I just had I know the whole chicken jockey thing is come and gone at this point, but I feel like they really missed a prime opportunity to put a goblin riding a wyvern, because I always call those chickens. I could literally, we could have I'm gonna shut up. I think it'd be really funny.
This was shot in front of a live studio audience at twitch.tv/Sweatcicle.
Rated T for teen.
So Kepler's a place touched by the Nine, concealing a lot of secrets and danger. And it's somewhere that human scientists traveled to a long time ago to research a dormant singularity. While living on Kepler, not only did they observe the collapse, they survived it. And over time, the ideals of the scientific process they held to were enshrined in their culture, and they came to be known as the Ionians. The Elixni House of Exile arrived during the Dark Age, weary from the Long Drift. They didn't invade Earth with the other Elixni houses. Instead, they sought a new home, which they found alongside the Ionians.
Anthem robots.
But the dark matter that permeates Kepler and that they converted into the ether they need to survive ended up being toxic. So when the Ionians failed to cure them, the house rose up under an archon claiming to be blessed with prophetic sight. Now, the House of Exile is full of zealots. And they'll stand opposed to the Guardian as they walk the winding pathways of Kepler, learning more about what called them there in the first place. Guardian's paracausal power acts as a catalyst for the normally corrosive force of dark matter. These new powers will allow them to unlock long sealed passageways for the Ionians as they make their way to the singularity at the core of the planetoid.
So from the start, we focused on building Kepler as more of a dungeon-like destination. It expands on the interconnected world design of places like the Leviathan or the Shattered Throne.
As you fight your way across Kepler, you tap into dark matter abilities and unlock enemy tech that expands your navigation and aids you in combat. These are all about going places you would normally think are out of reach.
Matterspark has you turn into this wild ball of arc energy. It's like nothing we've done in Destiny before.
Yep, Metroid.
The Mattermorph ability lets you twist the objects in the world around you.
With Relocator, you've essentially co-opted the Fallen's teleportation networks and can use it to cross gaps you wouldn't have even considered before.
It'll be the small tells, an open vent, a broken window, things you want to remember because you might be revisiting them later.
Abilities can be upgraded, so as you unlock new perks, you can chain them into your build crafting in clever ways.
By far, the most game-changing is one of Matterspark's upgrades. On Kepler, it lets you turn into Matterspark the same way you'd summon a sparrow, wherever and whenever. It will optimize not only exploration, but also combat on future playthroughs in super creative ways. There are tons of cool combinations. You can suspend an enemy with Mattermorph, bend a path up toward the sky, and then in mid-air, leap into Matterspark to dash across the arena and arc chain a group of enemies.
The team has already seen players pairing abilities with different exotic perks.
This is cool and all, but all I can think about is, can I eager edge my friend in ball form and just launch him out of the park? That's what I want to know. That's the only thing I'm thinking right now.
All right.
See ya.
Hello, welcome to Bungie, and welcome to our Destiny 2 Edge of Fate live stream. This will be the first live stream that we have leading into launch. Big shout out to the folks that we had on our Dev Insight video. We were just talking about Kepler, destination abilities, some of the secrets of Kepler and the Aeonians, but we're going to leave that for a later date for you to discover. Today we're going to be talking a bunch about Sandbox. We have a bunch of core feature updates with Armor 3.0, gear tiering, some new loot for you to grind out, and a bunch of cool things to show. So without further ado, let's get to it. We have a wonderful panel of developers on our couch. Some of them are new, some of them you've seen before.
Hello.
But yeah, let's start out with Eric. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for asking, Dylan.
Yeah. For folks that maybe haven't seen you on a previous live stream where you've talked about burst weapons and all the cool ability stuff, who are you? What do you do?
Sure. I'm Eric Smith, gameplay lead on Destiny 2, and I'm excited to dive into our sandbox changes.
Awesome. Vivian, hello. Welcome to the live stream format.
Sandbox changes.
We've seen you on Vidocs from time to time, but yeah, for folks that haven't met you, seen you on our Vidocs. Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, I'm Vivian Bex. I'm a sandbox designer on Destiny. I get the privilege of making like a lot of the toys that players get to use, you know, like weapons and stuff. Recently, I've kind of been all over the sandbox team.
I first thought she said Vex.
That
was her last name. I was like, there's no way your last name was Vex.
And last but not least, end of the couch, Bjorn. Taylor Bjorndal. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Who are you? What do you do here, buddy?
Taylor Bjorndal, associate weapons designer, sandbox designer. I've also bounced around and done a lot of stuff. Excited to talk about all of the million things we changed.
Yeah, right. I think the last time we had you on the couch,
I'm holding them to that. They said they changed a million things.
So as we're diving into this, we have quite a bit to go through in the show. And to start, we're actually going to be in the shooting range. We're going to have our gameplay specialist going through, showing you some of the new weapons, some of the new ability or exotics that are going to be coming. But this will be playing in the background. You'll see them tuning a couple different enemies, playing around, damage types, that kind of stuff. To start with our panel, though, let's talk Armor 3.0. Eric, if we can talk about, like, where did we start with ammo? Where was it back in the day? Where are we going? What's the high-level vision for
They
it?
named him Carl?
Yeah, so when Destiny 2 launched, we had armor in the game, but there were 3 stats. There were no mods available. And then with Shadowkeep,
dude.
We hit Armor 2.0.
Shout out,
we
Eric.
added 3 additional stats for a total of 6, and
That's
armor mods as well. And this is the next evolution for the new saga of Destiny 2. In Armor 3.0, we are adding, or we're reworking the stats. We're adding set bonuses, and we are adding gear tiers as well.
Yeah.
And the kind of the goals with Armor 3.0. So one, we want to make armor more exciting and desirable. When's the last time you saw a purple armor dropped and you were, thrilled to go pick it up and see what was inside? And then we want to rework the stats to make sure no stat is left behind, no stat feels mandatory. And give you further depth of build crafting in your
That's a bold claim.
Yeah, and then
no stat feels mandatory.
Upon in the team really is approachability. There are a lot of new UI tools where you're hovering over perks, stats, all that kind of stuff. You're seeing actual percentages. You're seeing more full descriptions for things, helping newer players or returning players get reacquainted with the sandbox of Destiny.
We'll see.
Yeah, in this release and in coming releases, we are absolutely focusing on making the game easier to digest and understand what's going on. And this, looking at the shooting range here, is a great example of this, like where I can just go and see how much damage I'm doing,
I can
test out my weapons, test out these builds, and see the actual changes that my new armor and whatnot is giving me.
Yeah, and you can load in here with a full fire team of 6 if you want to check out raid boss damage, or just come in here by yourself if you're on Discord talking to friends. Shooting the stuff. So let's really quick talk about stats. This is one of the major overhauls. A couple things are leaving, a couple things are being added. Really quick, if you could get a quick scroll through some of the stats, go ahead and give us.
Yeah, so we've removed some stats. We've removed resilience. We've removed recovery.
Mobility.
Yes, and mobility. So instead, starting from the top, we got health. Then we have melee and grenade, super, class, and then our weapon stat. So this is an entirely new suite of stats, does different things. All of our stats now, instead of going to 100, they go to 200. So once you go above 100, you get an additional benefit put on top of the 0 to 100 benefit. And these, on the ability side, we are giving you kind of your uptime and how much energy you're getting in the 0 to 100 range. And then the 100 to 200 range, we're increasing things like damage, things like survivability, which is somewhere we've never really, gone into. And it's going to really give players more tools to customize their build, kind of pinpoint single, like I'm gonna be this badass grenade thrower that's just doing shit tons of grenade damage, or I could be more defensive or more weapon focused and all of this, right?
Yeah, we haven't had like a weapons stat before, and it's sometimes been you'd have to like hook into the artifact to make like a true weapons build.
Yeah, he's not invited back anymore. He just swore like 3 times in one sentence.
I think we saw some questions specifically about the weapon stat and PvP. I know y'all have been balancing in the PvP, making sure this is kind of like cherry on top. It doesn't change the time to kill too much, but it's kind of like a cost balancing factor, right? If you want that extra damage, you lose out on grenades, things like that.
Sure, yeah. So if you want to go all in on weapons, like your weapons are going to be more potent than they were before, but it's at the expense of your other abilities and that sort of thing. So we have done extensive testing to make sure we're not breaking PvP. That said, you know, in the first day that this comes out,
who cares? Just delete PvP, bro.
The amount of hours being put into this by genius members of the community is going to dwarf what we've done. So it's a little bit scary how much change we've actually put in this. The team's worked so hard across the entire game. Everything you hear today is not apples to apples with the pre-Edge of Fate numbers and feel of the game. It really across the game. We have just changed so much.
It's very different. It's not really easy to compare the experience of what's going to be in the next release to what people are playing right now.
But at the same time, it still feels like Destiny.
Yeah, it's that quintessential feel of I got my gun, I have my abilities, but now it's how much agency do I have in leaning into some of these things and embracing like a role-playing mechanic.
Yeah. One of the cool things is like internally, I think the most common thing we say in like our sandbox channel now has just like emerged as, man, I can't wait for 900. Like the sandbox is really exciting. There's a lot of really specific builds you can do. Like if you want to be the melee guy, you can be the melee guy more than ever before, right? And it's I think we're going to see some really crazy stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of embracing some of these different lanes, we actually have 3 new exotics coming with the Edge of Fate. Each class is going to get 1 new exotic. Each embrace a different sort of vibe.
I see my nightmares. Look at all those.
Yeah,
look at all those chickens.
First, we're going to start with the Warlock exotic. And Bjorndal, you have all the details.
Sure. Yeah, so first we have Yunoya, which is Warlock exotic themed around the Hellion aspect. What
Probably
this does is after your Hellion fires, after a certain amount of time, the projectile is going to shatter into a bunch of submunitions that will like seek nearby units and scorch them, and so it kind of like adds a little bit of like skill play to something that was kind of more of a passive aspect in the past.
Yeah, and I think in the shooting range we can see like it can be both a single target or a group sort of ad clear exotic, right?
Yeah. It can kind of serve multiple roles, just kind of like amping up something that was like a trusty old tool to be something a little more that you have to like manually aim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can like, because it like splits in mid-flight, you can kind of like control your spacing to like control the grouping of it. If you want to hit one target, you know, if you're at the right distance, you'll hit all 5. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about the spacing of it.
Before. Or if you like get way back, you can just blanket a region.
Love it. Yeah, and we can see on the screen too, like some of the looks of the exotic and the Hellion have changed.
Yeah, so like while you're using the exotic, the Hellion itself, like the little solar buddy, will have the same X that the gauntlets do. So it's like a nice little nod to like match the exotic.
Love it. This thing looks so metal. I'm like so about having that big gas canister on my arm. Having that like flamethrower Warlock arm is so cool. I may have to start switching play Warlock.
Love it. Next up, I believe we have Hunter on docket.
Yeah, so the Hunter exotic is Morai, which is a strand-themed exotic that's about your threaded spike and tangles, where you can basically like yo-yo a tangle from out in the field back in your hand and then throw it again. So the way this works is if you have a tangle out in the field and you throw your strand Hunter melee at it, it'll pop the tangle and then bring one back to you that if you catch the spike, you'll get another tangle. So you can like duplicate the tangle, which works really well with a lot of Strand Hunter aspects like Whirling Maelstrom and just like the existing tie-in with like grappling to a tangle.
Oh boy.
You get like even more mobility and a lot of like
I feel like it's cool if I'm filming a trailer, but
also it
practicality
will return more energy when you catch it as well. So like even if you don't hit anything or you don't grab a tangle, so it helps you keep that engine going.
Yeah, you can see the strand energy attached to the threaded spike.
Strand is good, just not
that,
on
I love
Hunter.
how we're rewarding that like perfect grab.
Yeah.
You can already hear people yelling "spin to win" as they're spamming these things, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can have 3 Beyblades out in the field at any time, essentially. It's
And you're like zipping between the tangles with grapple. It's cool as hell.
Yeah. It's very strong. It's also going to be very strong with this artifact upcoming, which we'll talk about. But another cool tidbit about this is the threaded spike will bounce to the tangle from enemies as well.
Yeah.
So it's something that has a lot of easy use and really rewards skill at the same time.
Yeah, I think before we move on to Titans, and sorry Titans, we'll get to you in a second. Really cool exotic. I do want to talk about Gambler's Dodge. In the last TWID, we talked about a bunch of abilities changes, exotic tuning, that kind of stuff. And we saw some chatter around Gambler's Dodge. It was updated and reworked, right?
Yeah, we have reworked Gambler's Dodge. So it's the energy you get when you dodge now scales on your melee stat. But you no longer have to dodge near enemies to get that energy. So I can dodge anywhere in the game. I don't have to worry about this invisible circle that's around me to know if I'm close enough. It is going to feel more consistent. If I build into melee, it's going to feel more powerful. There's also, Taylor, you were talking about the multiple charges, right?
So if you, like our bar for a lot of this stuff is if you are at 70 stat, you'll get the full refund like you used to. But if you go beyond that, you'll actually get a little bit more, which most of the time doesn't matter, but like if you're using
not a hunter buff, not a nerf chat?
Fiddy Spade or any of the multi-melee things or Stasis Shurikens, it'll go up to like 1 1/3 charges. So you can keep that going even better if you're fully invested in melee. So you have like more reasons like to invest in it. If you want more melees, you want them to be more damaging, then you just go all in on that, and it will still do stuff.
Like just so many shurikens, just an embarrassment of shurikens.
Which is great. Like
freeze everything in front of you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then I won't be bothering you and saying, "Don't kill this thing. Let me do my dodge."
Yeah.
Forces us to waste points in the melee.
So let's go on to Titans. So this
well,
one,
if your entire build, like 1/2 combo,
least,
is built into it, like it makes sense. But
yeah. So this is Melis Panoplia, which is an exotic
hard name to say. As we get deeper into Destiny, the names get a little. But go ahead.
It's it's an exotic themed around something that people have been asking for a long time, which is kind of the fantasy of Thor's hammer. Of I want to be able to pull my hammer back to me after I throw it.
Marvel's on the phone.
So there's like a little minigame loop here where you get a fire sprite, you pick it up, then you get a buff that lets you pull the hammer back to you. And if you pull the hammer back with good timing, it'll explode into like solar shrapnel and hit stuff for like extra damage on the way back.
This is the biggest gimmick exotic I think we've ever
gotten. The hammer also will damage things on the return trip too. So if you position yourself well, you can actually like send it back through guys.
Line them up.
Back.
Yeah, we've wanted to do this for a long time, but it's been kind of a scary,
complicated.
Yeah, it's hard to balance this sort of thing where it's like it returns all your energy, but it also, you can pull it back to you at any time. So Alex, our designer, really knocked it out of the park as far as
it came out so well.
The balance and the activator and the
performance.
Yeah, the performance.
Yeah, you were talking about the animation, right?
Yeah.
Before this.
I love the performance on this thing. We've got like this beat where it's like all this magnetic like handshaking. It feels so good. We actually did like a new tech thing on this where if you're like looking off to the side, we kind of move the player's hand a little bit so you're like still kind of actually pulling the hammer. And that's like the first time we've done that with like a world object, and it's very cool. It feels really good.
Awesome.
It's super satisfying.
Yeah, I think so. We're going to be getting into some more gameplay and actual activity in a minute. But before we go, I do want to ask for stats. And actually, 2 things. With your exotics, there are going to be gear bonuses that you can build on top of, correct? And that's a new Armor 3.0 feature.
Yeah, so gear bonuses when a new armor set drops.
There's no need to build into melee because our dodges give it to us for free.
If you have 2 or more
scales your damage, that's why they want you to build into it.
You will get an additional perk. If you have 4 or more pieces from that armor set, you will get another perk on top of that. So I could take 2 pieces from one set, 2 pieces from another set, and then an exotic, and I have like more perks than I've ever had before on my Guardian. And it's really enables you to expand your build crafting in new ways.
Yeah, I think we have an example of this in the build right now. If a gameplay specialist could inspect an armor piece, you can see yeah, here are some of the destination armor bonuses that you can get.
Yeah, so at 2 pieces, we have Force Converter. At 4 pieces, we have a Reactive Booster. And, sorry, go for it, Vivian.
I was just going to say, like, so yeah, these are unique to the armor set itself. Something more than just like cosmetics that you might want out of these.
Yeah. Gives you another reason to like go to a specific place and pursue a specific armor set besides just fashion. Although fashion is still very important.
You can still use your armor synthesis and put the looks on these.
Yeah, and I mean, we also get to make perks that are like, I'm the this guy, you know, because you're investing so heavily in the 4-piece perk. But what's really cool about this is like, I think this is going to be very cool at live when we like launch. But I think in like 2, you know, releases or whatever, just a little bit in the future, we're going to see people go like, hey, remember that armor that I got?
Like something from 2 seasons ago.
Right, the 2-piece perk from Kepler is really cool with whatever, and we're really excited about that.
Yeah, and then the second piece of this is going to be for the stats rework. Some of the fragments are going to be reworked as well to adopt new stats or change, right?
Yeah, so fragments still can adjust your stats up or down depending on your build. And some of these, you know, because we've deprecated some of our perks, or stats rather.
So are they like
some of these are new. Like we're gonna have
planning the
some
armor?
of these will have weapon stat, which never have
I
happened
don't
before, which
understand.
just
Why
opens
would
up
we
new
not?
build crafting avenues.
I'm confused.
We're gonna kind of wait and see how this lands, how the dust settles for all of the stat stuff before we go in and adjust these further. But yeah, I think players have a lot of different ways to build out their stats and become the grenade master, the weapon master, and whatever they want to do.
So quick shout out, Dark Slifer, Childish CG, and Snivvyland for those last 2 questions. They actually asked them ahead of time. Feel free to keep dropping questions in chat. I'm glancing down here every so often. Now it is time to move on and let's talk about some new stuff. Vivian, you have been very excited about a new weapon archetype that is coming with the Edge of Fate.
I sure am. So for centuries, humanity has wondered, like, what would a legendary bow look like in the heavy slot? And today I have your answer.
Nobody asked for this.
We are building a crossbow. It plays like a new archetype, but it is technically a bow.
Not
for the
one
purposes,
person asked for another bow.
That kind of stuff. Now, so when we went to go make this, we knew it was a very cool fantasy, right? We want the feeling of like really drawing it back and it hitting a single target and doing a ton of damage.
Bro.
But we do have linear fusion rifles, right? And that's always the question is like, what does this do that's different? What's the fun gameplay here? And we settled on, well, you know, when you shoot that big heavy bolt and it hits your target, you can just go pick it back up. So this thing theoretically is a heavy weapon with unlimited ammo. You can use the same bolt for an entire nightfall if you want. I would love to see someone do that. Go clear a dungeon without ever using anything else or whatever, you know? It's very cool. You have to put yourself in danger, you have to go grab it, but it's just such a satisfying loop to just like pull it out of some, you know, dead hive.
Heavy with unlimited
just
ammo.
Put it in the rail, pull it back, use the same bolt to shoot someone else.
You're assuming it also does damage.
Last
if it
week
does,
in
then
a
sure.
PvP playtest,
but like
I saw someone run the
in a
entire
raid,
map
you're not
with
gonna
a
go
single
shoot
bolt,
Oryx
and they
in the
just
titty
kept it alive
and then
for
go pick it
minutes
up.
on end. It was
That was
you know?
me. I'm sorry.
I can hear the PvP man's
like
when you
obviously it's not meant for every scenario, but like
excuse me.
when we say new weapon archetype, I was like hoping like, oh, maybe we're getting dual wield weapons, or
very potent.
maybe we're getting.
And in PvP, you only get the one. You gotta get the headshot, and it's very funny. It ends
Anything
up being like this game
but
of,
a
like,
bow.
keep away, where you're like, we cannot let Taylor get near this thing.
So as we're going into this activity, we'll get some gameplay footage. This is a good example of the portal system that we'll be talking about next week on July 1st. Make sure to tune in. But we're going to be taking some content from just the history of Destiny, and it will be in the portal to go in and play. Power progression.
That just did negative damage.
So stay tuned for that. Vivian, back to the heavy
crossbow,
though.
You
were talking about this being legendary, so that means random rolls, and you had mentioned bolts.
Yes, yeah. So we had a really fun opportunity when we were making this, where we go to the talent grid, and we always want to make stuff kind of like new and different. And we got to the talent grid, and we were like, this thing does not have a magazine. We cannot put magazines on this,
Test build.
And it
I
gave
don't
us
even
the
want to hear it,
opportunity
bro.
to like really go, what would like a different magazine plug system look like? And so what we ended up going for is like, we have bolt types, And the bolt types,
Are those
instead of
baby
just being
screeds?
stats, they're going to alter the way the bolt actually behaves.
See, I'm more
out in the
interested in the
world.
baby screed than I am the
So
stupid
we've got,
crossbow.
one of them is like explosive bolt, where it's going to put in a target, it'll like beep, 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 and it'll just explode. Kind of like a grenade launcher. And then we have, my personal favorite is that we have serrated bolts. I remembered to say the shipping name this time.
Oh, you can say, yeah.
used
If
to
it
be
doesn't
cat
have
bolts.
3 names, it's not real game dev.
Yeah.
I never know when things go live. I never know. I'm like, oh, you guys know better than I do
But
the
yeah,
names.
go ahead.
But yeah,
Are you guys
so
seeing?
we have
So
serrated
this
bolts,
regular bow is
and
doing
you can
363
put,
to the head.
like,
This
bolt
heavy
in a
one
target
does
with serrated bolts, and you can
564.
normally draw them back
Plus
out of
some
moving targets, but
residual,
if you have
like,
serrated bolts, they're
solar
gonna deal
damage.
damage on the exit too. And it is so satisfying to like land the final hit with the pull, and you just pull back your bolts and you get them, and they just go flying.
I'll take
It's
that
great.
back. Yeah,
Yeah.
when you first brought this up, I was just like, that's so metal. Like,
Yeah.
gimme, gimme.
It's something.
Really quick, just on the topic of ammo, there are new ammo meters. Bjorn, we were going to talk about this in the firing range, shooting range. But we actually have some live gameplay where we can see these meters working out. Can you talk us through what is this new system? How does it work? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, so there's been a pretty big shakeup in the way that ammo works in the game, where in the past it wasn't really anything that you had too much control over, but now it is something that you have like a lot of control over and a lot of build crafting hooks to optimize or like make your own. And it almost like kind of works like an ability or like a super does now.
I'm bringing 3
where it
bows into
lives
the world's
in your
first
weapon
race,
tray.
boys.
You can see there below
Watch me.
weapons.
Watch me. We're gonna get
kills
world's
and
first
assists
with
anything
18 bows
that
in our
will
fire
pick up,
team. It's gonna be the
and then when you hit
medieval
full,
fire
The
team.
next kill will drop you a brick of that type. So there's a lot of things you can do now that you can build into to like have a lot more control
Bows and
over the
swords
pacing of what
and
you're getting at.
glaives.
Sweet.
And like there's a bunch of armor mods that exist now.
Team Robin
that,
Hood.
like pretty much all the things that used to be finders or inventory now fit into ammo generation, which is like a new weapon stat. So players have a lot of different ways to kind of build around that, depending on like, you know, if you have a really ammo hungry special weapon, then you have some options now to actually make that easier to feed.
And we'll be talking about this in depth in a future Twitter blog, so stay tuned for that, especially PvP heads. I've already seen conversation from our content creator videos going out. But before we get out of combat, I do want to talk about, alongside the new weapon archetype of the crossbow, we have some new weapon frames coming to the game.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So let's start with the hand cannon.
All right, yeah, so we have the spread shot hand cannon. It's like a big, chunky, beefy hand cannon that fires shotgun pellets.
I am excited
very
about
close
that.
range, but hard hitting.
I think that will be
PvP.
cool.
I'm a little afraid of that, but you know,
But
I'm
it's
sure it'll
close
be
range,
great.
right?
Yeah,
Like-
it's very limited. It's like a sidearm, like big punchy sidearm, but like even less range than a sidearm. But like less precision reliant.
This thing has become my baby in
Yeah.
PvP.
You're gonna make me
love
play
this thing.
trials for
It's
it though.
pretty great.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like having like a sawed-off
Yeah.
that's like a primary ammo, and it is just so good if you play aggressive or you use like other abilities to hit people.
It's
or
really
just
good.
want
Yo,
to-
for
pure
considering
chill.
other stuff.
Right, and that's exactly how I play. So I love this thing.
And second, so shout out to Sammy Cat, resident bow lover. She does full solo dungeons, HUD off, bows only. We have a new bow frame that's going to be coming.
Yeah, so we made a longbow, which is like a big, heavy war bow. Even slower draw than precisions, but more damage.
They
and
made
it
another
has,
bow. What is
intrinsic
with?
overpower
Why do
action,
they
so
love
if you line up
bows
a
so
bunch of
much,
raw
bro?
And you like hip fire a full
Do
draw,
something
it'll just
else.
straight through all of them with one shot.
Nobody
love
is
that
asking
damage
for more
numbers,
bows.
have been squished a little.
Not
So-
one
so they
person.
actually mean something
Maybe
now, 'cause
one
if you
or
look at
two.
How much damage is bows doing compared to like each one of those pellets in the hand cannon?
Yeah.
Right, right.
Like when like in the live game where it's like I did 20,000 damage with a shot. It's like
Yeah,
the
it's hard to
numbers-
compare.
Yeah,
Right.
start
It's
meaningless,
frustrating, man.
but
Like I
for
think
me,
bows are fine how
it's
they are.
changed so much, and I can't overstate like how yeah how much has changed and how this game is I guess evolving.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of those changes are like, they go hand in hand, right? Like us changing the stats around, you know, us making new builds possible. A lot of these changes
ogre
are
with a
like, they're all
shield in
going
front
to
of his
kind
face?
combine to create something new.
Yeah. Did you see
Oh,
that
boy.
front shielded ogre?
Oh,
with
boy.
we have a new. We'll talk about this next week.
Yeah.
But the new Banes are incredible. I'm very excited for players.
Oh boy, yeah.
play with
New
them.
banes, new modifiers, all that kind of stuff. And then the final weapon we got on tap is going to be a special weapon, another burst shoots explosives.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
So I know a lot of people are big fans of rocket-assisted
rocket
sidearms.
pulse?
Now we have a rocket-assisted frame pulse rifle.
Yeah,
So
that's going to be fair and balanced.
A similar role.
All right,
but a
well,
little bit
I know what the
different.
day one meta is, guys. I don't even need to play it.
It's a little more ammo hungry.
There it is. You
than
found
the
it.
sidearms. Got a bit more range and hits a bit harder. So it kind of fits in between like a fusion rifle and a sniper rifle. Also
Yeah,
kind
you
of
get
fires a little
slice
bit
and
differently
beacon
than
rounds
pulse
on there.
rifles, which
GG.
is interesting, just because like all of our pulse rifles have like different burst delay, but when you're firing each pulse, they all have like the same rate of fire. So this, instead of being like the brr, it's like a
That's kind of
plop.
sick.
So it
I'm a big
feels
fan of that.
heavier and it's
Shotgun
firing,
hand
like,
cannon
big,
in the
slower
pulse.
projectiles. So it
W.
feels
Bows
chunkier.
L.
Thank you for doing a Dave Samuel impression there.
I aspire to greatness.
Yeah.
This thing is like real cool. It's real heavy, but it's also like, you know, like we said, it's like pretty ammo hungry. One of the cool things about 900 is like we have the ammo stat. You know, you can build into that. You can eliminate that downside, and now you can see it working.
Yeah, same for the longbow too. Like there were some perks on the random rolls that you can go in, lessen the draw time. Like sure, it's still going to be a little bit slow fiery, heavy hitting, but there's a bunch of ways that you can build craft and tune these things to feel good for your play.
Like you have like one for all.
One burst almost does the same amount of damage as that heavy bow does.
So as we're going through this transition, we actually have a bunch more to cover, and gear tiering has been top of mind for a lot of players ever since our reveal stream.
Obviously
so, Eric,
subject
I'd love
to change,
dive
but
in
like
and just revisit what's the high-level vision statement for gear tiering and how we're getting players reinvested in some of that.
Yeah, so gear tiering enables players to look at a piece of gear at a glance and like understand how powerful it is. So you can see those kind of 5 icons or 5 little dots there. This is a 5th tier armor piece we're looking at, and the stat package or the stat pool that each piece gives is going to depend on the tier. So you can see at tier 1 is going to drop between 52 and 57 stat totals, and then at tier 5 you are guaranteed 75 stats plus stat tuning, which lets you kind of add some.
Yeah, shout out to, there were a bunch of folks that were asking what are stat bands, because in the game
I'm just
right
really
now,
curious if we'll be able to get tier 5
to
before
a
the
given
raid or
player.
not.
Like 62
My
feels
gut
low,
tells
but
me
an
no.
actual definition is like 58 or lower.
Yeah.
In the game now, we have UI that tells you exactly what are the stat bands for each of the tiers, so you know what you're looking for as you're trying to build a 200 or 150 or whatever you're looking for.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I love that we
They
did
already
this
said
because
no?
this is the most
When?
common question I get in my clan that I answer, and I love that you can just go see it now.
Yeah, having information in a game is great. I think the biggest thing about this is that because the bands are a lot narrower, you have a much better expectation of what you're getting like before you even start the activity. So, like I know a lot of people like you go into a master dungeon to farm some artifice armor, and you don't know if you're going to get like 55 or 70. Yeah, it's like an extremely wide range, but like that takes a lot of time and effort to get through. So now it's just like you're going into like
we only have 3 days to grind before
get
the
tier
raid.
5s. You know exactly what you're getting.
Yeah.
So it's significantly more likely that when you get your drop, it's going to be
This
something
could be
that
one of
might
those
not be
raids with a
valuable to
lower
your
clear
exact
rate
build,
if
but
they
it'll
actually
be
make it
valuable.
difficult
It'll be the
because of the
stats
time requirement.
total that you want.
Yeah, Eric.
Yeah, and with the new portal system, which we'll talk about next week, you're going to have a score goal that you want to hit to get that exact armor piece.
All right, there you go, chat. You guys ready for the 72-hour stream?
Or more targeted, if I want to chase a certain thing, like I know what I have to do to get it, and when it drops, I know what it's going to give me as far as the total value, right?
Yeah.
And it's just much more clear and exciting. So.
And go ahead.
I really like, we're mousing over here, the armor archetype. We now like display what things are going to be high on it and what things are going to be low. And they're like a little further apart where things are going to be spikier now. And so like, if you want to really max out stats, you can just look for that, emblem. You'll know what your armor is kind of like going to be good at. And it's
you can see that like at your main inventory level too. So you're just like mousing over like, oh, I just got a bunch of drops. What did I get? Cool. Is it gunner? Is it grenadier?
Right.
Like, what is the thing that I want? You can use that as like a quick reference rather than needing to go all the way into inspection and see like the exact stats.
And the last detail on tier 5 for armor, we mentioned this in the reveal stream, but you can get to 11 energy for your armor. So it helps with build crafting. You can get more of those armor mods slotted and that kind of stuff.
It goes to 11 now.
Yeah, right. So switching
better,
over to weapons, though, I would love to. We have some examples of tier 1, tier 3, and tier 5 weapons to show what is that progression looking like.
Yeah, similarly, when a weapon drops, I'm able to just glance at it and be like, oh, tier 1 weapon, it's going to have base stats, it's going to have a limited perk pool there. But then you can see at tier 3, we now have 2 enhanced traits. We have some of our columns are going to have more perk options in them. And then tier 5, so this is a tier 3. And then tier 5 is going to have even more like, look at the options here. And so much enhancement, and we
tier 4 you get the enhanced weapon mods too.
Right.
Yeah, kind of like how armor is like you
slightly
have a much
increased
better
ammo generation.
understanding of like when I'm starting an activity, what is the expectation of the things I'm getting. This, like the multi-perk and the enhanced perks kind of work for that too. So the odds of you getting that like specific god roll or multi-god roll, if you're looking for like the combo PvP, PvE weapon.
Yeah, that is a good question. What's actually going to end up being disabled for raid day?
Like,
I feel like there's going to be a big laundry list.
Okay, I'm going to get 1 adept with 1 trait in each column.
Yeah, and we're adding a lot of depth. Like as we were hovering over those enhanced perks, they have additional things that they can do, whether it be stats or power for the perk. We're putting all of these details into the game so people know as they're getting into this depth, they can hover over these things, understand all the different stats. We'll, of course, have blog components. We'll have some guides that our players make, our creators make. We'll blast those out. But we're hoping to bring more of these sorts of things into the game to make it easier to understand. So,
yeah, that said, if you have a great weapon drop that, dropped this season or 5 seasons ago, if it's a good roll, it's a good roll. Like it's, just because it doesn't necessarily adhere to the tier system doesn't mean it is not equal or greater value in some cases.
Yeah, there was this really funny reference that Mactix made, one of our creators, where he had this beautiful giant sword, and he's like, this is what I got today, and it has perfect rolls for a rocket launcher, et cetera, and here's my new tier 1 weapon that doesn't really have good perks. Like, what are you going to use?
Yeah.
So to answer the question, Shadow on Blue Sky was asking, are my weapons that I have right now or armor, is that going to be viable in high-end content? And the answer is of course. There are going to be a couple things in here that add incentive to try out new things, but Vivian, you had kind of framed it as a cherry on top, right?
Right. Yeah. And it's also like a way to, in the past, sometimes like the best way to get your path to power was like to do a lot of something. But now if you like do really hard activities as well, we're also just kind of rewarding you for the time there.
Yeah. So right at the
talk
9.
about future gear stuff in relation to this.
Yeah. We will in a second. But I just wanted to touch on right at the 9. Some folks were asking like, what do these equate to in the tier system? And when you get an adept right at the 9 weapon, both of your columns are enhanced, all that kind of stuff. Like it looks like a tier 3. It's going to feel like a tier 3 for a while. So there is a good handshake as you're going into Edge of Fate. But yeah, the last thing for tier 5 gear, I would like to show the cosmetic treatment that we've been doing. We showed this in the reveal stream, but tier 5s have an awesome new shader treatment and also kill effects.
Yeah, so these basically on the weapons, they'll come with like a fancy shader on it, and then something almost kind of similar to what we do with Sweaty Confetti, but now it's like a specific slot where it gets a custom kill effect that only comes on the tier 5 variant.
Yeah, and you can see with gear tiering, it's kind of learning a bunch of lessons through the years of Destiny. Like, kill effects are really cool. Players like this. Now we have a new slot for it. Players really like hollow foils as a chase in the game right now, and now we have tier 5s where you get sort of a hollow foil style treatment for it. So it's been really cool to watch y'all develop this over time. But to your point, this actually is a good segue into the next section where we're talking about new and featured gear and our artifact.
Okay, Dylan.
So,
but
Eric,
we want to know, is this in the Eververse store, or can we actually earn this?
Yeah, so our new gear, when we drop new weapons and armor for a season or for a release, that is going to get a bonus. It's going to be a little bit stronger than your other options. So on the
new gear weapons
armor side, you are going to get a damage resistance bonus per piece you have equipped, and that is, it kind of scales by gear.
So you have to use new armor for, you get 15% damage resistance.
Tier 1 armor pieces, I'm going to have 5% damage resistance against, everything.
Oh boy.
But if I have 5 tier 5 gear pieces, I'm going to have 15% damage versus everything. So I guess, yeah. So it is something that
this is an interesting way to navigate around sunsetting.
Have a little bit of an edge, you know. It's very.
It's like, hey, we're not sunsetting, but like there's also like a
if I wanted to
metaphorical gun being held to your head, being like, hey, you should use this new stuff, otherwise you're gonna get your ass clapped in the new raid.
Little bit of edge to like inch out into like the highest tier stuff when you're like really.
I don't hate it. I don't love it. I don't know.
Health or a little bit more damage.
Yeah. Speaking of damage, so you can see that the max is actually 10%. This is a clarification. We invited some folks into the studio to look through all of this. The original number was 15%. It's actually 10% on your additional damage when you get all your tier 5 weapons equipped. So again, cherry on top, where it kind of gives you that edge, and also it gives you a way, kind of like in earlier releases where you walk out into the tower and you're wearing all your raid gear. You're kind of like peacocking, as y'all have framed it. And now it's, oh, hey, I have all tier 5 gear. This shows like, not only have I mastered this content, but I've earned a bunch of really cool stuff, gotten all the gear I want, and now I can carry my team through. So. When it comes to the new gear as well, what's the way that you identify that as a player?
Yeah, so if you see that little kind of teal icon in the top left corner of,
cool in the long run.
piece, that is going to what's.
I mean, Geek is kind of right though.
It is in the
if
new
you have
gear
to farm a new
pool.
armor
So
set every
it's not
single
only
season in
gear
order to
from
get extra
this
damage,
season
it's
or
going to
release,
turn a lot of
but it is
people away.
also gear. It's like a collection of exotic pieces as well.
Yeah,
so.
we hop into the collections really quick. There's actually a new section that's going to show, here's our featured gear. So if you have some things from previous releases, those are going to be a part of the build crafting as well.
Correct.
A note for any newer players or returning players, some of these things are actually like, you can go to Xur, try to grab those. You can go into Rite of the Nine. Emissary is going to have a few things like Graviton Lance. That's a great thing to pick up before this new release starts, so then you have a little bit of an edge going in.
Yeah, if y'all screenshot this, you can start hunting this stuff down right now, right?
Yeah, and we will have follow-up blogs where we're going to go line by line. I understand, like, this stream has a lot of data. It has a lot of numbers, that kind of stuff. Big lists of gear. We'll have a full bulleted list, not just in TWIDs, but in patch notes as we keep going. So I think with that, we can go into the artifact as well.
Cool.
Yeah, so the artifact this time around, we're
solar, guys.
So kind of going with that theme is we wanted this to be kind of like, scout the wild frontier. And so to that end, it's kind of a little longer range weapon-wise than some of our recent artifacts. One of the other themes that we wanted to get was this is going to be me and my fire team, So if you're scouting solo, we have stuff for solo. If you're scouting as a group, we have stuff as a group. Then lastly is we made this artifact a little more weapons focused than we maybe normally do, because we wanted to kind of highlight that kind of the Guardians kit, kind of down to earth, kind of grit thing. Some of my favorite perks in these are in the fifth column. There's that first one is Radiant Shrapnel. And this is going to add an additive shrapnel burst when you're killing guys when they're radiant or when you're radiant or they are scorched. And I actually really like that we pay out scorched a little because sometimes you can't quite get that ignition,
Yeah. So that's going to pair really well with the Warlock exotic coming out. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You could scorch a bunch of guys and then you can cause them to alt burst. It's very cool. The fourth one in this column also is a favorite of mine. It's Tangled Web. And this is going to suspend everyone when you generate a tangle via combat. And normally we do that effect, we reserve that effect for breaking the tangle, right? And now it's on creation, and it leads to a very fun situation where you can just kind of walk up and take it, and you're like, thank you guys, I'll be back. And they can't do anything, and it kind of gets you there faster if you're not using grapple grenade or something.
Yeah. It works really well with the Hunter exotic.
It also works really well with the Hunter exotic. It's lots of fun.
Awesome.
I don't know if the tiers apply to exotics.
So there's a question from V Ferrer sorry if I pronounced that wrong, asking, are there going to be more seasonal mods? And with the artifact, you can see next major update, there's going to be another row, as people know. With the featured gear, there's also going to be added exotics to that pool. And Bjorn, I believe we are also making some new seasonal mods that'll be released over time, correct?
Yeah, kind of the same way that we did last season, where we had the Taken theme set of weapon mods. We'll have the same thing for this release's theme. That you can find those out as they come.
Perfect. All right. Well, wow. I believe we are at the end of the stream. thank you so much for joining us on the couch. Everybody out there, thank you so much for joining us during this live stream to see what we have to offer. We do have another live stream next Tuesday, July 1st, same time, same place, different cast, sorry. I'll invite you back soon. But we're going to be talking Portal power progression. So what are you playing? How are you earning things? How are you getting up to these tier 5s? And also, how are you customizing your experience in the Portal with new Banes, new modifiers, all that kind of stuff? Just because this is information heavy, as I mentioned, we do have a slate of blog content that'll be coming live. We'll have a recap on Thursday. We have a standalone next Wednesday that'll talk a little bit more about gear tiering. Next Thursday, we'll also have another recap for that stream and additional sandbox information. And then we keep marching into launch with more patch note previews, gear previews, all that kind of stuff. So outside of the full suite of gear you'll be earning on Kepler, bunch of stuff to discover.
We showed
thank you so much
Crossbow.
again for joining. This has been a fun stream, and as we leave, we're going to toss you over to our good friend Fallout. He's going to be talking through a bunch of what we said today. He was one of the creators that we invited to Bungie with hands-on, so he can explain some things. And we'll be collecting questions throughout the rest of the day to answer in the twit. Thanks so much for joining, and we'll see you next time.
That was rough. That was rough. Bro, oh no. Yeah, that was like Twid the live stream is what it felt like. I didn't think it was that bad. I don't really know what I was expecting, but like, yeah. Everything besides the crossbow is shown already. So they showed the pulse rifle? Dude, I'm gonna be honest. I forget what was said, but it was like early into the live stream, somebody said something and I had Curse of Osiris flashbacks. I really don't think there's going to be a lot of new content. That's the feeling I'm starting to get, if I'm being, like, completely transparent. And that doesn't... I'm still hyped about the new system and new raid, but I am very much questioning how much content there's actually going to be. I got this music blaring in my ears. I gotta turn this shit down. Jesus. Their audio is like quiet the whole time, and then they put on the outro music, and it's like... New content is you can grind new armor. Well, the thing is that I think is gonna piss a lot of people off is, again, you have new armor every season if you want to get the plus 15% damage and 10% damage resistance. Or I think I have those backwards. You have to do that every season. And no, I don't think people are going to want to grind armor every single season. I really think that's going to burn a lot of people out. I don't really have a lot of great things to say about that stream today. That was tough. Alright, YouTube, if you enjoyed this react, make sure to subscribe to the channel and come check us out on Twitch. And we'll see you in the next one.